Hey everyone, welcome to the Apptrepreneur Show. This is a live stream, right now a very impromptu live stream, where we talk about apps, pop culture, and life in between. I'm your host, Kevin the Apptrepreneur, and we are talking about a situation, really a growing trend, that I didn't think needed to be addressed, but apparently it does need to be addressed. Now, we have had the internet for a very, very long time. I think I was 6 or 7 years old when the internet came into the house. That I don't recall exactly when it was, but I remember that was the thing. And I remember it was like a very basic thing. It was like Prodigy. There were certain websites you would go to, but it didn't look anything like it does today. And then it grew. We got AOL. We started to get Comcast. We got Internet Explorer and Netscape. I remember Netscape. And so we started putting, all these things started going up on the internet. And I think I was 13 or 14 when social media first came around with MySpace. And all of a sudden, you could have like a personal profile page, something that's you. Now, before we got social media, there were like conversations about what should kids be doing on the internet and how much information should you put out on the internet. I remember watching Oprah specials from people who got on like AOL chat and they met strangers, and those strangers ended up to have not so good thoughts in mind. But then we got MySpace, then we got Facebook, and then something bigger started happening with MySpace and Facebook. People wanted to create their own personas on Facebook and MySpace, or they wanted to show what they were doing on MySpace. And that ended up biting them in the butt because, well, when they went to go apply for jobs and things of that nature, guess what happened? Employers looked up what they were saying and doing on MySpace and Facebook, and they wouldn't hire them. Or sometimes they would look up your Facebook account, see something you wrote, and you'd get fired. I remember this actually happened to me, and this was actually local news because it was just one of those duh moments where I was working with someone who called out sick and bragged on Facebook that she called out sick and that she wasn't going to go into work and she was going to the beach that day. Well, she was friends with our boss, and our boss commented on that status update and said, I can read your Facebook post, right? When you come in tomorrow, you're coming in to pick up your last paycheck because you're fired. And it became even more imperative that you, quote unquote, treat your Facebook profile like you would a job resume. Because there's a lot of controversy and debate about whether or not employers should look at things like social media when judging you. Personally, I think they shouldn't. I know why they do. I don't think they should. I kind of consider like Facebook to be a separation from work. Like, yeah, it's a personal page of yours. And as long as you're not bringing what's on that page into your work, then I don't see what the problem is. Because I also know people who got fired because they posted some really crazy things on Facebook the night before at a party they were at. They came in the next day, suit and tie, cleaned up. You'd have no idea they were doing anything crazy the night before. But they were showing these pictures on the internet, and so the boss would take them in, suspend them, and then they would be out of a job a week later. And so I've always been very cautious about what I put on my Facebook profile. I also encourage people that if they have a Facebook profile, use a pseudonym and make it strictly for just you and your personal friends. If you are going to be applying for any jobs, just try to cover your tracks. Don't let anyone have that information, because you can lose your job over it. Well, you would just think that after years of this happening, that this would kind of be common knowledge. Like, be careful what you put on the internet. But apparently this is not the case. In fact, a new craze has been going on. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called TikTok. And TikTok has had a lot of controversy surrounding it. From the fact that the shortened video length format is actually draining our attention spans, to the fact that the app may or may not be spying on your cell phone and what you are doing and what's it doing with your personal data collection. But one of the things that TikTok has been used for is a weapon against Karens in the world, a weapon against bad customer service. One of the most favorite things people like to do is to make videos about terrible bosses and unreasonable requests. There are a lot of companies that have actually had to face consequences of their terrible business practices because of TikTok. People show like an email or something. The most funny one that I read recently was a trucking company that was bought by a bunch of Christian fundamentalists, and they required all their employees to go to church on Sunday, specifically the church that they attended. They had to engage in prayer every morning. Promotions would be based on whether or not you attended their church. And, of course, the most fun one, all the paid holidays went away. It's always funny how Christians who are all about giving and being kind, one of the first things they do, they take away your paid vacation days. Well, obviously these rules wound up on TikTok, and first of all, people just laughed at the absurdity. And then, of course, a lawyer got a look at that and started calling employees there and said, hey, some of this is illegal. I will represent you in a lawsuit. And the final thing was, of course, on TikTok, they shared that after this email went out, a lot of employees said, screw this. Why on earth am I going to put up with this nonsense? And they started quitting. And then the company sent out another memo that said, hey, guess what? New company policy, we're not accepting resignations for 2 weeks, or else the company will have to cease operations. Personally, I think you deserve to cease operations if you can't keep your employees happy and you can't service your customers adequately. So everyone got a good laugh out of that one, and of course they shared it on TikTok. But here's something that's coming up more and more. These stories of justice against your employer, they're kind of few and far between. In fact, what people are starting to find out is when they share little things that annoy them about work or things like that, they are actually starting to lose their jobs. And as a result, TikTok has become one of the biggest liabilities if you are working and want to stay employed. Let's talk about this little article from USA Today called TikTok Got Me Fired. Here's what you should ponder before hitting send. A woman in Denver, Colorado is scheduled to start her new job on Monday, which was actually her old job after recently taking a higher paying job and then getting fired from it. Why? For posting TikTok videos about her salary. Last month, Lexi Larson posted on her TikTok account about how she got a new job in the tech industry that raised her income from $70,000 to $90,000. Good for her. The video received 168,000 views. For the next 2 weeks, she posted more videos about how she got that job. Larson said soon after her employer discovered her TikTok account, she removed some videos fearing her bosses might get angry. In a later video, Larson said she was fired for her posts. So, TikTok got me fired, said Larson, who goes into detail about knowing that talking about her salary is federally protected by law under the National Labor Relations Act and why she took down some videos. Quote, they ended up firing me because they said me having this account was a safety concern because I could post something private. Now, I'm going to go on a side tangent here before we continue this. Larson seems to be very well aware that this is, retaliation for her salary, and that she is allowed to talk about her salary. And her company is saying that she was fired for safety concerns or privacy concerns, as I should say. It's a safety concern because she could post something private. I would sue them, and I would sue them for that pretense and call their bluff. Because If they fire her for that, then they need to make sure that all their employees, none of them have a TikTok account themselves, none of them have a Twitter account, none of them have a Facebook account, nobody has a YouTube channel. And here's the thing. First of all, I doubt all their employees have none of these. But the second thing is, I don't even think they can legally require for them not to have those things. Now, if it's company property, like a company cell phone, a company computer, things like that, then yeah, they can tell you not to use Facebook and things like that. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that they clearly didn't like that she was putting her salary out there, and they fired her, and I would sue them, call their bluff. I think that they are, overstepping their bounds, and I really do not understand what it is with companies saying you cannot share your employment, or well, not your employment, your salary. Like, I know why they don't want, other employees to find out what one person's getting paid. They might actually ask for more money. But the thing is, that should never be a requirement, and federally, it can't be a requirement. So the fact that she, was fired, even after taking some of these videos down, and really this should have been like a warning thing. That's one thing. Now, the one thing that the company has going for them that she does not have going for her is the fact that she was probably a new employee. She's probably within the 90 days, and at that point, they can pretty much fire you for anything. So even if she has a strong case against them, that 90-day probation period might be a liability. But let's continue. Larson, who did not respond to USA Today's request for comment, didn't name her former employer and also chose not to pursue legal action. Mistake in my opinion, but whatever. But her dismissal raises questions about what you can say or not about your job on social media. Can an employer prohibit you from discussing your salary? No. According to the National Labor Relations Act, employees have the right to communicate with fellow employees and others about their wages. It's also unlawful for employers to punish, retaliate, threaten, or put employees under surveillance for having such discussions. However, the National Labor Relations Board said when using electronic communications like social media, keep in mind that your employer may have policies against using their equipment. Kind of what I said before. They can't tell you not to have a social media account, but if you're using it on their equipment, well, you might be a little screwed on that one. Termination with cause. It's not known if Larson did use company equipment, but, quote, the idea that her actions were a firing offense seems pretty harsh, said Matthew Bergman, a Seattle-based attorney and founder of the Social Media Victims Law Center. She was only there for 2 weeks. Larson could have a good cause if she considers taking legal action, said Benita Joseph, a partner at Joseph and Norensberg, LLC in New York. She should think about contacting a lawyer if she can show she was terminated for discussing her wages, said Joseph, who Is that better? Can you hear me now? The microphone died. Can anyone hear me? I'm going to guess that the answer is no. That no one can hear me right now. Well, actually, I could do this. I could go to my YouTube channel. And, yo, you can hear me. Okay, good. So, that is... Okay, good. So, yeah, the microphone died. Microphone died just at the most important part. So, So it's not going to sound as good now. I'm sorry about that, folks. But, you know, we have to do what we have to do. Let's end this and then we'll discuss it. So, Bergman said many assume that what people do or say online, especially in regard to finance, is safe, but that's not always the case. Quote, I think it's important to take a step back and be cautious when revealing personal information on social media, Bergman said. Whether it's an employer looking into your activities or a potential swindler looking to take you of your money, I think it's a dangerous road, Bergman added. He has another piece of advice. It's probably better to keep your money matters offline. I agree with that. By the way, that's really one of the reasons during that whole phase where people were showing off how much their earnings were and things like that. People would say like, well, show me your earnings. Like, show me how much you made. First of all, that was nobody's business. And this was not a dick measuring contest. You know, what I made on Uber, DoorDash, Postmates, YouTube was frankly my business. But here's the other thing. It opens you up to, well, people wanting to take advantage of you. And you know what? Here's the other thing. In terms of legal matters, let's talk about legal matters for a second. There was a YouTuber. It's not who you think it is, and they weren't part of this community. Not really, anyway. Who made a lot of money on Amazon. But this person, you know, was kind of like someone in our own community who liked to, you know, butt heads with people. He thought it was funny. He butt heads with the wrong person. And here's the thing. This person had a very strong case against slander against this particular YouTuber. Now, people had slandered this person before, but there was always like the question, like, is it even worth it financially to go after a YouTuber who has slandered you? Is it even worth it? And most of the time the answer is no, because you don't know what they make or things like that. You're kind of taking a crapshoot if you will even get anything if you want a lawsuit. But this person was different. This person shared that they made tens of thousands of dollars on Amazon. And he knew, yeah, I think it's worth suing this person because they've got money. And he did. So that's like one reason you maybe don't want to share what you're earning on YouTube. Now, in terms of like talking your finances with coworkers, I have no problems with that. If you're like on a real job and your employer says don't talk about what you make with other people, you are under no legal obligation to follow that. In fact, at that point, I would probably encourage you talk to your coworkers about what they make so that you can actually compare notes and see if you're not getting screwed or not. But here's the big issue. TikTok is a public forum. And look, I do not believe this woman should have gotten fired for talking about her finances on the internet. I don't. But here's the thing, employers are watching it. And you really should not talk about where you work if you want to keep that job. Really anywhere. And also you want to be aware of who you're talking about, what you're saying about them, and what you're saying about things in general. And so here's the thing. I'm not saying you shouldn't be, for example, politically motivated. I'm not saying that you shouldn't get online and fight for social rights issues. I'm not saying you should not voice opposition to mask and vaccine mandates, even though I think you should get vaxxed, clearly. You should, in theory, be allowed to say whatever you want, provided you're not hurting anyone. But here's the thing. Aligning yourself with a Black Lives Matter or a Proud Boys, it might be a personal cause to you. Maybe you're totally justified in supporting those groups. I don't know. I don't support either one, for the record. But if you start making posts about that and you start like cheering on protests and civil unrest because there's a cause you truly believe in, that's your right. But if your employees see it, they might have other thoughts about you working there because they don't want you to potentially bring that to the office. And same thing with the anti-mask, anti-vax mandate. You know what? It's your free choice if you don't want to get vaxxed. But you know what? Your boss might want you to be vaxxed. And if it's truly nobody's business but your own, don't be vocal about it, because when your employers see that you're not vaxxed, maybe they don't want you in the office. And these are just a couple hot topic issues. For the record, the friend of mine who came in clean shaven and ready to work, he went to a party, got drunk, and there were pictures of him puking, smoking pot. He posted them on Facebook. And the people at the company I worked with, which was Fry's, for the record. I might as well just say it's Fry's because, you know, first of all, they're terrible. And secondly, they're not around to sue me anymore. But they found it on his MySpace page, or maybe it was Facebook. Maybe, I forgot which one it was so long ago. And he came in, and even though he didn't bring any of that into the office, they let him go. So I do find it interesting that we have now had well over a decade of social media, more than 2 decades of the internet. Ever since Oprah started warning people, be careful what you share with people on AOL. Don't put your personal information in chat rooms. Like, don't use your real name when you go online. In fact, that was one of my biggest mistakes, that if I could go back and tell younger me not to do something, I would tell younger me not to put my name on stuff, really on anything. Now, thankfully, I have a pretty common name, so it's hard to find some of that old stuff, but, you know, there's things that you say when you're a teenager, and you're looking back, you're not exactly proud of it. So, you know, and things like that have been coming up to bite people. You know, they open a Twitter account, 15 years later, they become a famous actor, and then people look back, well, what were they tweeting before they were famous? And they're like, oh my gosh, he was making jokes, or he was saying sexist things, or things like that. Maybe he's not that same person anymore, but who cares? He said it at one point, it's wrong thought, we got to get that person fired. I mean, the people learn nothing from the James Gunn situation with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And TikTok, there's something really insidious about TikTok, in the sense that I don't know what it is, but people truly throw caution to the wind when it comes to TikTok. They record everything. They go out of their way to record controversies and conflicts. And, you know, they get like an email from their boss that they don't like. They film it. They put it on TikTok. It takes a few seconds, and then it's up and it's sent. And look, I don't want to diminish that some good things have come of it. There have been companies that have been had justifiable lawsuits, and this should be one of them. I really hope the lady reconsiders and actually sues this company. There have been justifiable lawsuits brought against these companies because emails are leaked and things like that. I mean, I don't want to take that away. At the same token, you're going to get fired when you do this. I mean, it's just what's going to happen. I mean, you have to also keep in mind some of these things. Like let's talk about that Burger King guy, the guy who worked there for like 30 years, never called out sick a day in his life. And Burger King sent him like a little thank you pamphlet or something for working there for so long. And it was really weak. It had like Reese's peanut butter cups, M&Ms, a movie ticket, like 30 years. Not given a raise, never took a day off sick. Probably didn't, like, this is your big thank you for a guy who's given 3 decades of his life to your company. Now, that guy did not get fired because when he made the video, he was being genuinely happy. Like, he seemed like an overall very nice guy. He was just grateful to have what was given. And a really good thing happened. The internet decided, you know what, we want to show that guy appreciation. So they did a GoFundMe and they gave him over $200,000, which he's going to use to give to his grandkids, which is great. I love it. But that was playing with fire, because even though there was no ill will behind it, even though the intent was not malicious, the story made headlines. It got around. Burger King did not come off looking good in that situation. And Burger King might have tried to fire him because, hey, we don't want you to give away company secrets or something like that. Because they did not come off looking like the good guys in that situation. He dodged a bullet, but the next person might not be so lucky. Like, what happens if somebody is working in fast food, for example, films one of these encounters with a Karen, where the Karen is shouting at them and cursing them out, and the person is holding their ground, all that jazz. Well, what happens if they get fired by McDonald's or something because they were filming on company property? I mean, you have to be really careful, folks. You really, really do. And now to answer the obvious question, because I know the comment is coming. No, of course I didn't get fired from TikTok. I was clearly quoting the name of the article. I got laid off because of a lack of work. And by the way, thank you everyone who likes the videos, who watches the videos, who subscribe. You all do a lot to help. You support me in a way, and so I really appreciate that. But there's a reason I also don't put this YouTube channel when I go looking for work, because it's just not something that's in any of my employers' interest to know about. And that's why you will not hear me talk about any work. That is all. You will not see me share numbers about what I make online. That's one of the reasons why those video projects came to an end. One of the reasons you also won't, actually, there's another reason why I won't share my eBay store. Some people say, like, well, can you share your eBay store? We would like to support you, but we don't just want to give you money. We want to buy like something from you and support you that way. Totally understand that, by the way, folks. Totally get it, but I can't share that. We'll make another video on maybe not Sunday, maybe Monday we'll make the video. And we'll talk about why, because there's another video that's coming out, and for those of you who, whether you have an eBay account, an Uber account, this is why you don't want to have your account out there in situations like this. But you must be careful what you put online. And it seems like we would have learned that lesson by now, but you get a new service like TikTok, it's a new toy, it's fun, and you throw caution to the wind, you start playing it, and before you realize it, you get hit in the street by a car because you weren't paying attention because you were playing with your new toy. And that's something you got to be careful of. So anyway, folks, that's the video. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, everyone who's joined. I see we have Rideshare Source Driver and RLI. Haven't seen in a while. Thank you. And Muhammad Kali and Skip Smith Louie. Thank you so much. Oh, Blaze. Thank you so much for all of you for joining. I have other things I must do right now. This had to be less than an hour. I promised my wife, so I'm going to keep that promise. But come back Monday for another video, and maybe that one we will hang and chat a little bit more. So anyway, you know the drill. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.